Welcome to Holistic Podcasting. I'm your host and producer, Kristin Chadwick. After being in the podcast industry since 2016, I am determined to inspire you to start, grow, and maintain your podcast through a holistic approach. If you're an entrepreneur, coach, author, or leader, you need a podcast. And friend, I'm here for you as an experienced podcast coach for over 6 years, working with numerous top podcasts and hosts. Your voice needs to be heard, and your story needs to be known. Through holistic podcasting, you will learn how to market your business coming from an aligned and centered place and through intentional strategy. Thanks for listening to the show. Here we go. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Holistic Podcasting. I am your host, Kristin Chadwick, your podcast coach. Today, I am doing a little bit of a different type of show, and I got to be real honest right up front. Full disclaimer, I have recorded this show multiple times, for real. I have had audio issues. I've had just a disconnect in my heart, which I'll talk about in just a second. But sometimes you just need permission to re-record if you need to, you guys. And I really have done this about 3 times. I think this is my 4th time recording this, and that is okay. I'm re-recording this now that I have solidified most of the women who are participating in my first quarter podcast boot camp from idea to launch. Whoop, whoop. And when I sit back and take in all of the amazing women God has brought together to release a podcast by quarter 2 inside this cohort, I am blown away by the value, depth, knowledge, and love that these women have for people. They all want to create impact, and what a joy it is to be a part of that journey to help equip them to be a podcaster. And so today I want to just read you a letter I've written out to them. And today's episode's letter is really for them, and it's for any brand new podcaster. Maybe you have bought equipment and are ready to begin recording, or you just released your first episode, or you are just now saying yes to this brave calling of using your voice, and you are just feeding the flame of this idea of starting a podcast. I am a wholehearted podcast coach. So when I say I had to redo this episode because I didn't connect fully in the audio, this is what I mean. I want you to connect with your audience, and I want to connect with you heart to heart. And so as I read this, I'm really picturing the lineup of women, these powerhouse women that are underneath my wing as we equip them to start their podcast. I picture all of these women as I'm reading this letter, and I picture all the many other women who are standing with them doing the same thing, whether it's now in the end of January 2023 or it's June of 2023. This episode is to encourage you and just give you a heart. So without further ado, here we go. I'm going to read you the letter I wrote to all of my brave new podcasters. Dear brave new podcaster, you may feel overwhelmed, excited, fearful, courageous, paralyzed, or maybe even motivated, and that's okay. You have said yes to the whisper of God asking you to use your voice. And you may feel inspired and full of ideas, or you may hear static due to a loud question inside of your heart. Who do you think you are to share your story? And I just want to say, I see you. And more importantly, God sees you. He delights in your willingness to open your heart, to expand your territory and make an impact. You are not alone. There may be moments when you have to just decide to record instead of listening to the lie of, does this really matter? My friend, it does matter. Fear keeps us small. Love multiplies and expands. In the words of one of my fellow podcasters, Bethany Kimsey, she says, take a deep breath and start, because often what hinders us is the fear of what may be. Sometimes, you guys, you have to push past the fear and walk straight into it. There's a famous quote that says, bravery isn't the absence of fear, but the courage to do it anyway. And this is where the beauty begins to flow. Don't wait for a perfect time to be ready, because, my friend, you're never going to be ready, fully ready. But the time is now. I believe 100% that you have been given a gift to share to this world, and it is like a light. It's not to hold on to and cover up and hide. It's not for you to keep to yourself. But the whole point of having this light is to let it shine. Like the famous song, this little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine, right? And in podcasting, we amplify our light through our voice. We multiply our reach. Your story will help set people free, and your wisdom will give permission for others to walk in truth. Your experience will help others find a better way. Your coaching will help guide somebody else. When you begin to plan your content, I want you to keep this in mind. We are here to serve our listeners. When you think about your ideal listener, what would bring value to them? What do they need to hear? What are those hard things that they are walking through that you wish you had somebody coming alongside you and whispering to you too? How can you empower them? Dive into the heart of your listener. As you connect more and more with them, you will know where you can best serve them. And showing up consistently is going to be key to gaining traction and rapport with your listeners. So commit to publishing a certain amount of episodes per month that you feel you can consistently commit to. For some, it might be 2 times a month at the most. And for others, you are ready for weekly episode releases, and there's no right or wrong in that. Only do what's best for your listeners, best for you, and to keep it consistent. Because podcasting is a commitment. It's a huge commitment. Like one of my podcasting clients, Mary Brown, she said, it's a lot of work, but well worth it. Treat yourself with grace and kindness. And that's so true. It is work, but beautiful work. And it can be done in a way where it will cost you either more time, energy, and money, or it can be done strategically and intentionally and purposefully, where it will save you time, energy, and money. Another podcaster shared this with me as well. She says, it will take much more time and energy than you think and will bring you more satisfaction than you can ever imagine. When you have that wonderful moment when a listener reaches out to you and says, thank you for that episode, it really touched me, it's all worth it. And I will say too, to both of those comments, both from those podcasters, is yes, it will require time, energy, and effort. And you have a choice to bring in somebody to help you with all the things that you don't thrive in, like editing or writing your show notes and those things. You have opportunities to hand those off so that if you're passionate about teaching wellness, you can stay focused in creating that content, stay focused in meeting one-on-one or in group coaching with your clients. It's all about strategy. But I want to hit on this too, because they both hit on it's better than you can imagine, and give yourself grace as you learn. So again, as you grow and you nourish and you water and you baby your podcast, I want you to give yourself grace, and I want you to allow yourself time to not only put in the work at the beginning, right? We got to create some structure. We got to create intentions. We got to create some vision and how to get there and the means to do it. But as you are going through this process, allow yourself time to pause, reflect, reset, and even redo sometimes. And that's okay. We're all learning and we're all growing. You guys, I have been practicing behind the mic for 6 years and not really fully until about 2 years ago. And I am still learning and growing and critiquing and really just beginning to understand what it's like to communicate fully. So I just want to give you permission to learn, permission to fall down and get back up, permission to redo, just like in this episode. I redid this episode 4 times, and that's okay. You're going to have moments where you stumble, just like, a little one learning how to walk. We don't get mad at the little one when they fall down, right? When a little 1-year-old starts walking, we cheer and explode with excitement that they took 2 steps, right? So I want you to know that you are celebrated in taking these 2 steps to say yes to a podcast, and that you are trying and you are doing this. And even as you get further down the road in podcasting, you're going to have pivots, you're going to have failures, but you're going to learn from them. You're going to have victories, and you're going to have weeks where you sense it's time to pause and reflect and revisit the drawing board. And that's okay. And there's going to be days where you need to be encouraged by another podcaster or a podcast coach, and that's okay too. We all need each other. And that's the beauty of the podcasting space, is there is no shortage of communities of podcasters. If you need suggestions, I would love to send those out to you. Obviously, Holistic Podcasting, see, on Facebook is a great opportunity to have that support. There was a time in 2020 where I ended up with, 5 other women who were podcasting, and we started meeting together on a monthly basis just to encourage each other. And it ended up becoming a whole podcast in itself because it was so fun. But the point of that was that we all need each other. We all needed to support one another. Even though I was in the podcasting space probably longer than anybody in that group, I needed that support group probably more than they did because I just value being together in a process. And so, ladies, if you're in my group and you're listening to this, there's so much power in community. And so utilize that. There are days and sometimes even weeks where I had the space to just stop consuming. I had to take space to stop consuming other people's content, whether that was podcasts or YouTube or reading books. And I really had to shut off all input and check in with my own heart and really start to tune in to what God was telling me within me. And I want you to know you have permission to do that too. There might be times, 6 months down the road or a year down the road where you're like, wow, what am I doing? And that's okay. Sometimes we just don't need to listen to another podcast about coaching, parenting, marriage, wellness. We just need to tune into our own story. Podcasting is an absolute gift in our time. And what an incredible honor it is to hold space in between somebody's ears, right? We get to hold their attention for however long that your podcast is, 10 to 45 minutes, whatever it is. And that's a beautiful honor. You are made for this. Your voice matters. And I give you permission to take up space in the podcasting world. Steward your story. Woo, yes, steward your story. Because you have been given and entrusted this wisdom to help equip other people. And you are going to create an impact wherever you are called to. And I want you to know you've got this. You've got this. You've got this. Way to be brave, to say yes. And I'm excited and I'm praying for you. And I'm praying for all the people that you will touch through your podcast and the power of your voice. Take care. Thanks for listening to Holistic Podcasting. I want you to know that I truly value every listen. To show my appreciation, I offer a one-on-one free podcast consultation call. Whether you're wanting to start a podcast or you're ready to take your podcast to a whole nother level, come sign up. The link is below, down in the show notes. Have a great day.